Okay, hi everybody, and welcome to the Disney March Madness final recap. I am here with my lovely co-host, C.S. Johnson. Say hi.
Hi.
And we are here to discuss everything that went on with March Madness and talk about the winner and also to choose the grand prize winner from one of you guys. So the first thing to say is that Team Smolder beat out Team Beast. Flynn Rider is the ultimate Disney prince of 2019 by only 2 percentage points. I think the vote was...
I actually calculated it out as 4 votes. So.
Oh my gosh. So where were you for people voting for the Beast? Yeah, it was 49% to 51% to Flynn Rider. So, which actually is kind of interesting because most of the bets, so at the beginning we had people bet on who they thought was going to win. So not necessarily who they wanted to win, but who they thought would be the winner. And those are the people who are in the running still for the grand prize. And most people actually chose the Beast, which is kind of interesting given that they maybe also then voted for Flynn. So, you know, since you are in fact the official queen of Smolder now, or Princess of Smolder, I'm wondering if you have thoughts. What is it that people love so much about Flynn?
Well, I think there are 2 things that kind of go into it. The first is that, he's very likable. Even if he's like doing all this bad stuff, you can't help but laugh at him and think, oh, what, so there's that element of humor and likability. And then the other thing is relatability, I think. Because, when you do look at the Beast and everything, everybody's made mistakes. And you want that kind of redemption. But a lot of people, I don't think, have ever had a moment where they're like, I've never been that bad. I've never been that bad that I turned into like a literal beast. And so I think that probably plays a part in it. It is kind of moving away from the symbolism to the more realism. And that kind of matches up with the, going from a more like maybe traditionalist sort of religious, spiritually educated people to a more Marxism sort of, you only see the material side of things.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what people have been telling me, because I think, I really like Flynn Rider too, and even though the Beast is my favorite, and I'm sad that he didn't win, I think that Flynn is also a worthy competitor, and I think, and the thing that I've heard most about Flynn, and I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, it's hard to pick, I like them both, and the thing that sort of tips the scale in Flynn's favor seems to be kind of what you're saying, like he's more fun. Like the Beast is broody and scary and dark, and and Flynn is, he has a similar redemptive arc. Like he needs to be transformed, and he becomes transformed by the end. But he does it with sort of humor and like panache, and the Beast is kind of like always just kind of dark. And what's funny for me is like that's what's appealing. So maybe that's like an extra special glimpse into my psyche. But like for me, that's kind of what's so appealing about the Beast, is that he is this kind of like he's like Rochester from Jane Eyre. He's this kind of like Byronic hero, and I sort of love him for that. But I think maybe people are looking for something lighter. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of it. Like, I think if you look at the arcs themselves, they're like deeper, like on the Beast side. Like it's a deeper arc because it's actually like terrible Beast spell. Slow, like the slow crawl out of the pit. And then like with Flynn, it's kind of like...
I think I've never really put it this way before, but like Flynn actually doesn't know at the beginning that he needs to be transformed. And the Beast at the very beginning doesn't know. Like when he is turned into the Beast, he's fine. He thinks he's great. But by the time Belle meets him, he's aware that he needs some help. And I think that's partly why I'm sort of drawn to him, is that he kind of is this, he's vulnerable. Whereas I think Flynn is sort of like, when we meet him, he's kind of like, no, I'm good. Like, if I could be on an island alone surrounded by enormous piles of money, like that would be great. Right. So it's like, I think he's more sort of, it's sort of, he's like this sort of dashing rogue, as opposed to, or like the bad boy, as opposed to this sort of like dark hero. And maybe that's appealing. Well, it is appealing anyway. So yeah.
I do think on a whole, like most people they don't want to have like bad problems, if that makes sense. Like,
bad problems.
Like people don't want to suffer, and they especially, like, even if it would cause greater good, it is very hard to take that into kind of consideration. This stuff, like, would you rather be the Beast or would you rather be Flynn Rider? And I think a lot of people would be like, yeah, I'd rather be Flynn.
Right. Oh, totally. Yeah, I agree. And I think, and I also think Flynn is, an interesting thing came up too, is somebody said, like, is it about age? Because Tangled came out in 2010, and it's a whole other generation of people who kind of watched that movie versus maybe, like, I will not reveal my age, but my generation of people who, now I will, because I grew up, during the Renaissance, and so it was not that Renaissance, the Disney Renaissance, and then Beauty and the Beast came out in 1991, and I wonder, like, if there's any kind of like any studies we could do on whether people like the ones that they sort of grew up with, but I think you're right. It's sort of like Flynn and Aladdin is a lot like Flynn, I think. Yeah. Although Flynn is definitely, in my opinion, Flynn is superior to Aladdin, because Aladdin is whiny, and Flynn is not whiny. So, yeah.
Aladdin's got more like anger issues.
Yes. No.
So, like, I mean, they both kind of like grew up in that orphanage sort of mindset, but you can tell like Aladdin's like angry about it, whereas Flynn is like, yeah, I'm just gonna go off in an island to get rich.
Right. And I also think the thing about Flynn is that, like, it's almost like he's Aladdin and the Beast mixed together, because when you get right down to the bottom of Flynn, there are his feet. No. You see, like, when it reveals to Rapunzel that he's not really named Flynn, and that he just picked this name up because it looked like the kind of hero that he wanted to be, or not hero, anti-hero, then it's like he's vulnerable. Suddenly he's vulnerable to her, and that's why he's able to change. Just sort of she accesses that vulnerable place for him, and that the Beast is sort of all vulnerability. He's all sort of nerves and like anger and hurt. And whereas like Aladdin, it's kind of like Jasmine never really gets to that vulnerable part of him. It's just that Aladdin kind of sees that he needs to do the right thing, because I don't know why. So like, I think that Flynn is a little deeper than Aladdin, and has that vulnerable side. Go ahead.
Oh, well, with the vulnerable side, I think Aladdin is actually more vulnerable with the genie.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because it is like Genie's like kind of rejection that's like, okay, he's right, I need to do this.
Yeah, and it's actually the genie. He's made a promise to the genie, which he hasn't really made to Jasmine. I mean, he's lying to Jasmine basically, but he has promised something important to the genie, which is his freedom, and so he has to sort of make good. So you're right; his arc is more sort of tied into the genie's than it is to Jasmine's. But okay, so congratulations, Team Isolde, you win. Team Beast is sad, but still okay, and. So I think, one thing to say is that at the end of this broadcast, which will be fairly short, we are going to choose live one winner from the pool of people who voted, who bet on Flynn from the beginning. And it's now a very small pool. So if you are watching and you bet on Flynn, you have a pretty good chance of winning. And in a minute, we'll talk about what you'll win. But there is one other item of business that we should take care of, which is we should at least begin the conversation about what should next year's Disney March Madness topic be. So first of all, I wanted to say that I'm not sure that everybody knows, since we had much higher turnout this year for March Madness than last year. I will say to those who maybe don't know, we actually did this last year with princesses. And the winner was Belle, which would have been really cool if the Beast won, but I'll just get over it.
That's actually part of the reason I thought he would win.
Right, exactly. I know, it would have been like cosmic. something. But sadly, no. Maybe Belle has to marry Flynn Rider now. But no.
Crossover.
Yeah, some sort of weird crossover. So what we would love, and maybe we can talk about our ideas too, but what we would love is that anyone watching now, if you have an idea for what the category should be for next year, you should type it into the chat box. If you're watching this later and the chat box is not available to you, or for some reason it's not available to you when you're watching it now, you should comment on the video and tell us your ideas. So you had some great ideas. Why don't you tell us what yours were?
Okay, so last year we did princesses, and this year we did princes. And so this year, or like for next year, I thought we could try either like animals, like who doesn't want to see the matchup between Pascal and Sven, right?
There you go.
And then there's also villains. I got a lot of responses on the villains.
Yeah.
So we could have a lot of good discussions about who were the villains of Disney March Madness. And then there's also couples, because we've had the prince and the princesses. Why not throw them together? Because everybody's better half is the one that's never competing at the same time, right? And I mean, other than that, we could, also do suggestions for like games or something. Like, I really liked, like, if you guys haven't seen Faith's like collaborative Twitter feed with the songs, they're pretty cool.
That was so fun. I hope more people do that. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, and hopefully when I'm not like actually sick. So. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. So comment about categories and also comment about what kinds of fun things you'd like us to do, and maybe not just for March Madness, but all kinds of fun things. I would love to do another Mad Libs. I think that would be super fun. If you missed that, we did collaborative Mad Libs, and I read it on the air and devolved into a fit of giggles. And the singing is cool too. We post videos of ourselves singing the next part of a song. So that's fun. So if you have ideas for fun games we can play, that would be great. So yeah, I mean, I think villains is the one that's getting the most interest right now. I think that would be really cool just because it's sort of different. And villains are always intriguing. And complicated and dark. So I guess we're revealing a lot about my personality that perhaps we should.
We all secretly knew it, Faith. It was just you that didn't know it.
That's right. I'm coming to this realization. Hold my hand, everybody. Yeah. So and couples would be interesting, I think, because it's like together. Like, I don't know. I would vote for Aladdin over I would vote for Aladdin and Jasmine. Like, I don't really like Jasmine, and I think that they're not good as a couple.
Well, it would be almost like, we could do like that, like group therapy with them, though.
Ooh, that would be good.
So that would be good. I think that would be funny. Like, what are like real life problems that Aladdin and Jasmine have now that they're together? And that would be like,
yes, so
like,
we could that would be
problems.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And then animals is always fun too, because who doesn't like a good animal sidekick? And you're right, there's Pascal and Sven and Gus from Cinderella, and that turtle that falls on the stairs in Snow White. Turtle that falls on the stairs versus Pascal. So anyway, comment about what you want us to do next year, and we will take all your suggestions under advisement. So it is now almost time to reveal the grand prize winner, but first, tell them what the winner. Okay, so the grand prize is a paperback copy of my book, Saving Cinderella: What Feminists Get Wrong About Disney Princesses and How to Set It Right, a paperback copy of C.S. Johnson's book, The Princess and the Peacock, and a $5 gift card to the Disney store. So
yes, so you can buy another $5 gift card.
Okay.
I actually went there a couple days ago with my kids.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit.
$5. Oh, I was saying that I went there the other day with my kids, and I was like, "There's nothing here that I could buy with a $5 gift card."
You could use the $5 to get $5 off of something that you buy.
Yeah.
Yes. The Disney store does not sell anything for $5. Maybe they sell like one Mickey ear or something. So we can get everybody excited about this prize, even people who aren't going to win it. So can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Oh, The Princess and the Peacock?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's about, sorry. I was not prepared for this. So,
Okay, shall I say
a book that's about it's about this kind of like society outcast who wants to win the princess's heart, and because he's really scarred and ugly, he decides to go get a wish up the Forbidden Mountain where the Fae Queen will grant him a wish if he climbs it. And he heads up there with his adopted brother, and that's kind of and then there's a peacock involved.
Yeah, so it's a fairy tale, right? Which is why we thought it would be appropriate for this competition. Yeah, so you've written a fairy tale, which is really cool. I've read it. It's awesome. And yeah, so Winner will win that. And then they will also win this book, which I assume everybody has heard of since you're watching my YouTube channel right now. But it is my book about why we shouldn't dismiss Disney princesses, and it deals with each princess individually and talks about the pros and cons of each one and why we shouldn't write the older princesses off as anti-feminist. So without further ado, assuming I can click over to this, I am now going to select the winner by clicking pick a random name in this random name picker. Here I go. Drum roll, please, in your head. And okay, Lady Christina wins this. So I know that that's a Twitter handle, so I will also put this on Twitter. Lady Christina is the winner of the grand prize Disney March Madness. Congratulations, and thank you for playing. So I will now say thank you for playing for everyone who voted, who bet, who commented, who hung out with us while we live tweeted movies and laughed about Mad Libs and all kinds of amazing things. It's wonderful that you guys are out there, and that here I am, a grown woman talking about Disney princesses, and there are people who want to talk about it with me. So that's amazing. Thank you everyone and for doing this, and thank you C.S. Johnson for doing this with us.
Pleasure is all mine.
Okay, so check in with us about other fun things that are happening coming up. I still have 2 sessions of my Saving Cinderella class going on. There's one this Sunday about Merida, which I have previously called a feminist dumpster fire of a movie, so please tune in. And then the following Sunday is about Frozen, which I also don't like, so that'll be fun. And lots of other fun stuff coming up, so make sure you're following us on Twitter. I'm at Faith K. Moore. You want to say where you are?
Oh, I'm at C_S_Johnson13 because I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it is a little bit underscore. And follow us and check in and see what's going on. So that is that for Disney March Madness 2019. Check in with us for other fun stuff, and we'll be back again with March Madness in 2020. Bye.
Bye.